Time for Ask the Mayor on KWBE with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. If you have a question today, 228-5923. Give us a call. We'll pass along your question to you. Have you gotten things tied down? No garbage cans blowing around or anything like that in this wind?
I can't say that. We saw a few garbage cans upside down yesterday, and part of the real problem is getting rid of the refuse at the landfill with the high winds that we have, and once they dump those trucks, it starts to blow all around, and so that you need to get some litter picker-uppers to go out and kind of police the area. The Mars company did not dump the garbage yesterday in the landfill just because of the high winds.
I see.
They kept it in the trucks and tried to wait till the wind subsided during the course of the evening, took it out there, and
it didn't
subside too much.
Yeah.
So my guess is that you're going to see quite a few people canvassing the area to try to pick up as much litter as they possibly can.
Those facilities usually have some screening, whether it's a windbreak of trees or maybe a berm, but that doesn't help very much when it gets that windy.
Not when it gets that windy, you're right.
Pretty bad.
So tone it down just a little bit.
Well, we'll try to. Maybe by tomorrow or Saturday it'll kind of calm down a little bit.
Sounds good.
I have a big event coming up, the Beatrice Clean City event, about a month from now. It's May 9th through the 11th, and bringing it up this early because going to try a few changes this year, see what, maybe some adjustments and see what helps out.
There are going to be a few changes, and like before, would like those individuals who want some of their stuff picked up to give us a call well in advance. The registration for that is actually going to close on May the 6th. And so certainly want to get as many people registered as possible so we can do as best job as we possibly can. For the first time, we're going to also extend to the community picking up of some vehicles that don't run anymore, are maybe considered junk vehicles, and we will allow up to 2 vehicles per residence, and we will haul them off for free.
Mm-hmm. That was kind of an idea out of what the Community Development Department was.
Community Development Department came up with that idea, and I think it's a great idea. Disposing of mattresses and box springs will be a little different this year as opposed to the regular site where we were dumping them before. We will have them take them to the landfill. The landfill will be open on hours that are going to be agreeable during that weekend, and there will be extended hours. And so you don't have to go over the scales. There will be a drop-off point just inside the gate.
That kind of is right by the, compost site out
Correct.
there or whatever. But the other thing, too, one thing we should mention, if I remember right, when you take a mattress out there, you'll be asked to give a driver's license ID to show you're from town, and that gets to that situation about people coming in from outside with trailers full of mattresses and that.
And that's what we had seen for some time where, it's just like everything else. You try to assist a community in doing something, and then you have abuses because of that. We're going to try to limit that as much as we possibly can. And so you're going to have to show a driver's license, show that you're a resident of Beatrice, because the citizens of Beatrice are paying for this. People from out of county, out of state are not. And so I think it's just something that we wanted to put into place, give it a try, make sure that those residents are of the community. And because we're going to figure out how we're going to dispose of those mattresses at some point in time, and it just makes it, I guess, Doug, just a little more acceptable to those that are dropping off their mattresses and to the ratepayers.
The motor vehicle part of that, how much of a problem does that continue to be with abandoned or inoperable or junked vehicles around the city? I mean, as you drive around, you see one every now and then, and a few of them have been there for a while, but has that gotten any better?
It depends on the property owner, and depends on what they determine as collectibles. Those that are basically becoming an eyesore, we're trying to do whatever we can legally to dispose them from the properties. But you're always going to have, like I indicated earlier, you're going to have abuses of that. We're going to continue with serving those properties that are abusing the situation, but this is really an extension to the community to say, look, if you don't have the resources to get rid of it, we'll certainly do it for you.
Okay. Back on the registration cutoff date, which is May 6th, ahead of the project. In the past, had you just kind of accepted registrations right up to that first day of pickup? Is that basically it? Or
that's pretty normal. But this is about 3 days prior to the actual event starting. So it starts on May the 9th, and so we will accept registrations through May 6th, just to make sure that we get everything computerized and those addresses logged, so that we know which ones to pick up when.
Certainly would make it easier for street department crews from a planning standpoint and know where to go. So
the drop-off of the mattresses will be from 8 to 8 on those specific days, May 9th through the 11th.
By the way, of the vehicles or whatever, boats, trailers, whatever the case may be, that are brought in on the Amnesty program, what will happen to them? Will they be like recycled at a metal dealer, or are they just disposed of there, or what happens?
They'll be recycled at a metal dealer.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. All right. 228-5923. We're speaking with Mayor Stan Wirth today on our Ask the Mayor program. We'll have more in a moment. Back on Ask the Mayor, 228-5923. Had a question in during the break. Someone wanted you to address or give an update on a lawsuit with the fire department. I don't think it is at the
It's not a lawsuit.
stage.
It's a tort claim. That claim has been turned over to the insurance company for their disposition of it. And at this point, there is really no update.
I'm assuming that was the fire that was outside the city limits south of town.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Moving on to other projects, the state loan that you're making use of up to $7.5 million to undertake some water improvement projects in the community. The next one of the next one up is installation of generators. One at a wellfield that you own, and then the other one at the South Reservoir Pump Station, which I think is at 4th and Grant there, if I remember right.
That is correct.
Did that come in lower than expected?
Quite a bit lower. Yeah. Both generators originally came in at $500,000 each, and we signed an agreement the other night with Philip Karkowski Construction and Trenching for the installation of those backup generators at about total of $546,000. So that is really good news. Now, depending upon the ordering process and the supply chain issues, whether or not we're going to get those in a timely manner, but they think we will, and so they will be installed hopefully yet this year.
Down the road on the use of that loan, is there a next project that's up after that you can talk about right now?
I think there's going to be some reciprocating lines put in so that we have a backup for our current flow of water into the community, so that if something happens for whatever reason, we've got a backup. And that's the whole idea, is to continue with a good supply of water to the community, and to have safeguards in place that will continue to happen.
I know I don't think it's part of the loan program, but right out here by us at KWBE, some water main work going on right down the block here, I think, on West Mary Street.
There is, and quite frankly, I'm not up to date on that.
I noticed they were digging out the connections the other day where the pipe's going to go through. So it's always something to do, though. You're replacing a lot of old lines, and I know one of the more visible ones will be when you do get to the downtown area there.
Yeah, and that's going to be in the future, but hopefully it is not in too much of a distant future, because those lines are old, and they are of cast iron, and some are worse than cast iron. So that is something that's going to have to be looked at, replaced. And once that's done, again, you're not going to be able to view what those improvements look like or how your money's spent, but by the same token, it continues with the supply of water to the community.
Okay. You're getting pretty close to naming a new police chief who will take over when Chief Bruce Lang retires in June of this year. Getting down to kind of what the last interview, as I understand.
We are. We had some 13 applications, narrowed those down during a series of interviews with retired police chiefs, with the Civil Service Commission, with members of the community. We will have a final interview on this Monday, this coming Monday. And those that are going to be part of the interview process will be myself, Chief Bruce Lang, our City Administrator Tobias Templemeyer, Councilman Bob Morgan, Dr. Blake Butler, our Council President Mike McLean, and our School Superintendent Jason Alexander. So we'll sit down there and do some rapid-fire questions to this individual, and if that becomes, and we view it as successful, we will extend an offer to that individual.
Is that something the council would act on yet this month, or would that come in May, or how do you?
No, I think it will come at I believe it's the April 21st City Council meeting.
Okay. Then that person selected would spend some time kind of getting familiar with the department and
Right.
getting ready to take over.
Yeah, Chief Lang will retire June the 3rd. Certainly would like to see the new police chief get on board as quickly as possible, maybe the first part of June. As Chief Lang said, you only have one chief and a teepee. And so he doesn't want to be the one that looks over the new chief's shoulder, so he would bug out of there as soon as possible and the new chief take over.
Okay. Monday night, the Beatrice City Council held a short public hearing on designating a new area of Blight and Substandard region in the city of Beatrice. I think it's area number 10, and that is in between Court Street, Ellis Street, 13th to Hayes, I believe. That would be, most people know that as the Russ's Supermarket area there. You have some empty ground there and some maybe properties that could come out of there if necessary, at least nearby there. I know that was sought by the company that has Russ's itself. They paid for the study.
They paid for the study.
Wasn't city initiated then. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an area that certainly is qualified by law to be eligible for tax increment financing. And as you said, the study was done by Hannah Keelan, and Russ's Market paid for that. The new development is in that area that, actually is the 10th area in Beatrice that qualifies for this business-friendly incentive. And state statute requires municipalities to limit the TIF area to about 35% of your community, and right now we're just over 34%. So we're right on the line. But again, we will continue to try to take out of different areas of the community those areas that were maybe eligible for tax increment financing at one time, or those tax increment loans have been paid off, and then we can remove that area just so we can expand again our total area to keep it under that 35% range.
In this area, I know the question most people are probably asking, does that mean the grocery store is going to expand? As I understand, there's no specific plan.
No specific plans at this time. We've not certainly seen any plans whatsoever, but only you can only imagine that that's kind of at the back of their planning stage or planning plans, that they're going to eventually either expand or construct something different.
Okay. Hannibal Park, some suggested improvements through a study that you accepted as a mayor and city council on Monday night. I've had a few questions already from people who are going to say, hey, what's it going to look like? What will be some of the most dramatic changes? That park's used a lot during recreational season.
It is. We have some 7 ball fields there today, and they're going to, we're going to, the design says that it will look at an additional ball field, kind of where the parking area is today, and then we will expand at a different location the entire parking area that will accommodate about 100 more cars than what is there today. So this master plan is one that part of it has been put into motion already, and you'll see more improvements as we go along through the course of the year this year.
How would that be financed? What would be the potential sources for that as you move along, those changes?
Well, what's kind of nice about this is that, the Softball Association has assisted numerous times in coming up with quite a bit of money to help us finance the improvements. There is a service club in town that is contributing a large sum of money. Now, in return for that, they would like to have their name on one of the fields, which is fine with us because of the contribution that they're making. And then we actually budget city funds for these park improvements. We budget those on an annual basis just because we know we're going to have enhancements as we go through the course of any year. And we want to continue to plan ahead and budget those improvements from year to year.
Do Game and Parks grants figure into that at all? Because I know they have some recreational grants.
And Doug, I'm not sure whether or not we applied for those. If they were available, my guess is we did, but right off the top of my head, I can't remember.
One of the interesting parts of the recommendation was water retention area, kind of in the southwest part of the park there. Are we talking a pond that would carry water all the time, or what's the thought there?
Well, it could be, depending upon whether or not it can retain water in that area, again, with the percolation of the soil. But it could either be a holding pond or it could be a dry reservoir, similar to the one at Beatrice Community Hospital. There is, on the east side of Beatrice Community Hospital, there is a drainage area, and that is what is called a dry holding cell. And that could conceivably be what we have out there.
This retention area, I know there was just very brief discussion about what, if any, impact that would have on any drainage problems you have now out in neighborhoods there. Do you think this might help a little bit?
No, I don't think it will. I don't think it'll have much of an impact whatsoever. I think it's more to drain the water off of the parking lot and hold that excess water so it doesn't go into other areas. I think what you're talking about is something that will have to be upstream just a little more. We are referring to it as Tributary 44, and that will be a little more of a major project and an expensive project at the same time.
228-5923, back to wrap up our Ask the Mayor program in just a moment. We're back to wrap up our Ask the Mayor program today with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. Again, 228-5923 is our number. We're just talking about Hannibal Park prospective improvements that are part of a study. Another thing that's out there and that has been discussed for quite some time, and I was trying to think back the other day how many years ago this was first mentioned, but a rural trail possibility between the city of Beatrice and the Homestead National Historical Park, which is a distance of about 4 miles or so. Kind of making some progress on that a little bit.
Of course, former Superintendent Mark Engler was really championing this effort. The council, along with the Department of Transportation and National Park Service, has now agreed on a new route for the trail connecting Riverside Park to the Homestead National Monument. National Park Service has actually paid for the study, and they selected four different routes that we could conceivably look at and try to agree upon. The approved route is just south of Highway 4 along the state right-of-way. It's along the state right-of-way because that does not really interfere with property owners as you go along. Now, there's going to be some easements that may have to be utilized for a short period of time just because some of the construction processes or the equipment could be on someone else's property. So that process will be ongoing as we go through the different steps that we have to take. The environmental review is something that will take the most time. Unless we can get the National Park Service to do some of those environmental reviews. They have a tendency to be able to step things up just a little quicker. And my guess is that it could take at least 1 to 3 years just for the environmental review to be completed. We're anticipating that this trail could conceivably be put in place between 5 to 8 years from now. And but it would be something I think that is a long-term plan that actually comes to fruition.
You know, I was traveling to Wilbur this week for another event, and as I was driving there, I was trying to visualize, you know, about where that would be at 35 feet or so off the highway, which isn't really that big of a distance, but a couple of the other alternatives were to have it adjacent to the roadway, which is probably not really
Yeah, that's probably not the best idea, and I think the south route was chosen versus the north as opposed because you don't have you're not negotiating as many driveways and interaction between pedestrians and the public or bicyclists and the public. One thing on the south route, there probably will have to be, and it would be on the north route also, 3 different bridges that would have to be built, some type of probably a 12-foot wide bridge as you go across the 3 different tributaries that you have to navigate going out there.
The good thing, too, is if you choose the south side, connecting with the Heritage Center, you don't have to cross the highway at that point, too. So I think it's, Southwest 75th Road or somewhere around there. So
okay, I'll go along with that.
Trying to memorize these county maps and everything on the roadways. But anyway, that's a little ways off. It'll take a little while, but it's a neat project just for a quality of life standpoint.
Well, and it's not going to be rock. It's going to be concrete. That's the design anyway. Going to be expensive, but we're not sure exactly what our portion is going to be. But as in our last trail extension, the Department of Economic Development paid for 80% of it, and the city paid for 20% of it.
And if everybody knows where the dead-end trail is at Riverside Park, it would eventually connect with that.
Connect with Homestead,
so that hooks
correct.
right into your city trail system there. So we'll look forward to that if and when that happens down the road. A couple of things left to talk about today. I know contract negotiations, one of those things you go through once in a while, and I think it was the final one of a series of ones that you had to go through negotiations on. That's the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers contract, 6-year agreement. That's
it's a 6-year agreement. That's what we have done with the police union. We're doing that with the electrical workers. We did that with the fire union. And it's kind of nice that it's a 6-year contract for us as city administration, and also for them, so that they know and can budget as they go forward what their increases are going to be on a regular basis. And you know, those increases also are reflective of merit raises as we go along. But the agreement was signed, and the increases are over the 6 years is 18%. Now that's incremental, so it's 4% first year and second year, 3% the third year, 2.5 year 4 and 5, and then 2% on the 6th year.
Since you do biennial budgeting, it does provide some certainty too.
It does, and that makes the budgeting process quite a bit easier and more streamlined.
How many people are covered by that IBW contract? I was trying to remember. It's like electrical department. Would that be water department, sewer as well?
That is correct.
Didn't know if that was any office personnel or anything like that.
No, it is not. But
Okay.
Total number, I don't know, Doug.
Okay, that's fine. There's numbers out there somewhere. We'll figure it out later.
Sure.
If we need to. Maybe just get your reaction recently to a presentation regarding downtown redevelopment. The city and Main Street Beatrice are working with a master class of UNL, which was helping with coming up with some suggestions of, you know, what you might do to kind of help with the downtown redevelopment beyond the efforts you're already making in terms of using several grants over the past several years. What was your overall impression from what you've seen from some of those recommendations there?
Well, I think and I didn't. I got into the presentation quite late on that
So did
particular
I.
day.
I missed most of it.
And well, I missed most of it also, but and they are going to come back to kind of refine some of the information that they gave to the general public and to some of the downtown merchants. But I think overall it is a kind of a fresh perspective of someone else from the outside coming in and taking a look. We drive by buildings day in and day out, and all of a sudden it just becomes, the same old buildings that we drive by. Yeah. But I think for them to come in here, and this is their area of study, to take a look and say, this is what we feel is something that could be important to the community. Looking at maybe rerouting the Court Street area to Market Street for a period of blocks might be something that makes it more pedestrian friendly for the community. And I think utilizing the downtown enhancement grants that we're receiving, they are going to come up with some recommendations on how some of that money can be spent. So I think overall, I'll be more interested in what their refined plan looks like when they come back. This was just an overview of kind of what they saw, but we need to have something, I think, a little more definitive for the community. And again, your downtown is the core to your community, and we want to make every effort to try to continue to keep the buildings that we have in place without having to demolish them. Now, that's not going to be possible in every case, but we're going to try to do as much as we possibly can to save the buildings that we can and to save the design of the buildings from a historical standpoint.
People that have gone to walking districts in other cities and big cities, it seems like their popularity has grown a little bit over the years in terms of it's just a more relaxed atmosphere. You don't have the truck traffic going right through a town. You still have vehicle traffic.
Still have vehicle
slowed
traffic
down a bit. Yeah.
And I think one of the things they're looking at also is parking, maybe some diagonal parking in some areas. And so that would certainly be a change, but again, you can accommodate more vehicles, and by maybe taking heavy traffic off of that area going through downtown, maybe that would be a better alternative.
Stan, thanks for being with us again.
Thanks, Doug. Stop the wind.
I'll try.